Hello everyone, this is Bryant Dillon with Fanbase Press. We're here at Comic-Con 2016 and we're here at the DC booth and we're here with one of the rising stars in the comic book industry, Jody Houser. Jody, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's day one of Comic-Con, so I'm still alive.
Excellent. And I know that you have just a jam-packed schedule. You've been doing so much work, and we've been following your career for quite a while, since the beginning. So tell us a little bit about this next step with DC. You're going to be working with the Young Animal imprint, and you've got a new series that you're going to be writing. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I'm doing a book called Mother Panic that's for the new Young Animal line that's spearheaded by Gerard Way. And Mother Panic is actually a character that he co-created with artist Tommy Lee Edwards, who's drawing the first story arc. And she's essentially a seemingly spoiled, scene-causing celebutante, with anger issues, the type who's always like in whatever Gotham's version of TMZ is. And she actually has a lot of trauma and really dark, interesting stuff in her past, and she's sort of out to get a bit of revenge, we could say. And she's taken on the mask of a brand new vigilante called Mother Panic, and she's sort of tearing through the streets of Gotham. And yeah, there's a lot of vigilantes in Gotham, as I think most DC fans know, but she's a little bit different, and I think it's going to be fun to toss her in the mix there and see how she plays or doesn't play well with others.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble with revealing any spoilers, but she seems to have a lot of similarities, obviously, to Batman in regards that, there is the idea that she comes from an elite background, she has this quest for revenge, she's a vigilante, but I have to imagine there has to be some vast differences. So what does she share with the Batman that people know, and what makes her entirely different?
Yeah, she does come from this privileged background, and a lot of what her journey is focusing on the elite of Gotham, a certain subset of them, and just sort of dealing with all the really dark, horrible things that people who have way too much money and absolutely no morals, sort of get themselves into. And one thing that does set her apart from Batman, she's actually not an orphan.
Oh, okay,
yes.
That's a big one.
Yes, so which actually sets her apart from a lot of superheroes.
That's true, a lot of superheroes.
But yes, she still has at least one parent around. So.
All right. Excellent. And is this the first mature reader series that you've worked on?
I think it is. I did do a story for Vertigo CMYK a few years ago, and obviously Vertigo is a mature imprint. Yeah. But that story was also about an 11-year-old girl, so it wasn't, it was mature in certain ways, but not in ways that, the life of a mid-20s celebutante is going to be.
Have you had any challenges or differences in the experience working on a mature reader series?
It's interesting because actually most of the stuff I've done lately is all ages, which I kind of didn't expect to get into that because as you know from my early anthology work, a lot of it was sort of very dark and horror tinged and weird. So for me, it's I love doing the all ages stuff, but doing a book like this kind of feels like getting back to my roots in comics. Roots being 4 or 5 years ago, so not super deep. Yeah, they're still roots. They're they're just not super deep yet. But no, I've been having a lot of fun doing a darker book. I think I like doing a balance of lighter and darker stuff. So having a book where I can just have horrible people doing horrible things and then have horrible consequences for them, it's a lot of fun.
Now, was there any talk between the creative team about? I mean, for me as a reader, it seems like the idea of this book ties into a lot of things that are current in our culture: the division between classes, the discrepancy in wealth. Were these things that were discussed about tapping into in regards to this book?
Oh, definitely. That was a big part of what Gerard wanted to do with this character, I think. So that's something I'm trying to lean fairly heavily into because she is a super privileged woman despite, all the hardships she's faced. And that's something that she is sort of incorporating into her mission. And, it's something she's very aware of in a way that I think, we don't get to see often in comics. So that's a really cool aspect of both the character and Gotham City to play with.
And what's the working relationship? How does it work with you and Gerard? You're co-writing this book, right?
No, I'm solo writing.
You're solo writing? Okay, so what's the working? how basically do you work with him in regards to the idea that he's using these different creators for this imprint and starting off? You know, he said that he created the character. What influence does he have? How does that work with you as a writer?
He's sort of. I mean, I have Molly Mahan as the editor.
Okay.
And Gerard sort of. I think the term that they came up with for the line is that he's curating it.
Okay.
So he does. You know, he has input, but it's not quite the same as editorial, and it's not quite the same as a co-writer. But, you know, when I came on board this book, he had already developed a lot of what he wanted to see with the character, some of the villains would be, and, you know, so a lot of it was me just sort of taking what was already there and building it out into a series. And I mean, it's a great working relationship. He's luckily really liked a lot of the ideas that I brought to the table with the book and just been super positive. And it's actually been like a really fun experience to sort of come and help develop this character almost from the ground up. I mean, again, the foundation was there, but you know, it's how often do you get to see a brand new character in superhero comics? You know, it's a pretty fun place to be.
Well, let's wrap up with just asking you, who do you think if out there this book is really going to speak to? What fans do you think are going to be really interested in? And are there any projects that maybe you're a fan of yourself or that you've written that if they like that project, they should check out this one?
I think anyone who's into the Batverse and the Gotham books, it's something they definitely want to take a look at. It is going to tie possibly a bit into the books under the regular DC universe in Gotham. So you might see some familiar faces there. But I think anyone who just wants to have a sort of grittier, deeper social look into superheroes, I think they'll enjoy it. I think anyone who just wants to see a cool character kick some ass and see some really, really astonishing artwork, because we have Tommy Lee Edwards, Sean Crystal, and JP Leon all doing art on the book. And yeah, forget about my writing. Just buy the book for the art, honestly.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
And once again, this has been Bryant Dillon for Fanbase Press. If you like this interview, you can find more coverage of San Diego Comic-Con 2016 at fanbasepress.com.